3, 2, 1.
Here we go! El miedo más grande que puede tener una madre, and it's one of mine, is for your kids to be gone. Not due to an illness, but gone because somebody took it. Que te levantes o que vayas a un lugar y que te roben a tu hijo o tu hija. Eso es un miedo con que yo he vivido por muchos años. Tengo un hijo de 23 años y tengo uno de 10. Y a mí siempre me ha dado ese miedo interno. Y a través de conocer las historias del invitado que tengo hoy, no es que veo la luz al final del túnel porque no quiero nunca pasar por eso, pero sí he aprendido mucho de cómo prevenirlo y sobre todo qué hacer después que pase. Ojalá nunca tenga que pasar por esa experiencia, pero para que no tenga que pasar usted y si pasa esté informada, tengo hoy a Joe Carrillo. Apláudete porque lo que no tengo es budget.
A mí me dicen que si uno se aplaude es comunista, so déjame
No,
parar.
let's put the hands down.
Yeah.
Vamos a empezar por ahí, porque you Cuban because you were raised Cuban, but your story of your childhood is amazing, and I want to just start with that real quick so people know a little bit about you that they don't know.
Yeah, everybody thinks I'm Cuban, but I'm not. My name is Jose Carrillo. My parents were Cuban, but I was born in Canada, and I was given up for adoption in a nun's orphanage the day I was adopted. And 4.5 months later, a Cuban couple who became mom and dad for all their lives until they passed came and adopted me. Took me to Cuba when I was...
From here to Cuba.
From Canada, from Quebec to Cuba when I was 4.5 months old, and I landed in Miami 5 days before my 5th birthday, running away from Fidel Castro. And I've lived here all my life, so nobody's going to tell me a story about Miami or what the deal and what the culture and who the people are here.
So it's kind of crazy because to a lot of kids in Cuba, being adopted by anybody outside of that country is salvation. But to you, the salvation was Cubans.
Yeah. My dad knew somebody who was in the insurance business. One of the guys that ran the company, Mr. Coker. Actually met Mr. and Mrs. Coker, a little old lady who used to smoke cigars that big, Cuban cigars. But they wanted to adopt. So they told my dad, come on up. There's a big problem here with it was in 1955.
Yeah.
In the rural part, a very poor section, farmers and agriculture people. And he went up, got me. And then a year and a half later, went up and got another baby who became my brother.
That is so cool.
Yeah. And that's had a lot to do with what I do with kids and reunifications and why I do it and stuff like that.
For those that don't know, Joe has been extremely successful finding kids that no one can find. Joe, how do you get into this? And before that, explain a little bit about BTHP.
Okay. Well, BTHP comes way later. Bringing Them Home Project is our foundation. That's 10 years old. But I got out of my 7th rehab in 1983. And
I was a year older.
Well, by that time, both the parents that saved my ass had passed, and I was a very bad son to them as soon as I could be, And so I finally got sober and I got out, and I needed to do good because doing good is part of getting sober.
Yeah.
So on top of all the meetings and everything, and I had and to this day I have a real bad problem with guilt and my parents and stuff. But what I started doing in a way to give back was I started going to the rehab that saved my life, and I started working there on Sundays when nobody wanted to volunteer, and that turned into doing interventions. And for the next 22 years, I did interventions. I did addict interventions, and probably way more interventions than kids I brought back, and I brought back probably close to 1,000. So I did that, and
Let's say that again. Close to what?
About 1,000.
You.
Yeah, me. One by one.
That's crazy. That's a lot.
Yeah,
That's
I've been
a lot.
involved in 1,000 cases, and we brought around. I don't count, but when you average out what you've done, yeah, I've been involved in every single one. It's a very personal thing when you find somebody's child. You don't take money for it, okay? Because I've never taken money for it, and you're promising somebody you're bringing their most precious. So that's a very personal thing. It's a very one-on-one thing. You don't take that and give it to a rookie PI because he's under you and he needs to make hours. You need to go out and do it. But anyway, back to the beginning. So I did, for 22 years, I did interventions, just addicts and volunteer work on the meeting.
How did that help to get, or what knowledge did that give you?
My job during that time, I got out, I got into the repossession business. And I used to find people to take their cars away. And that morphed into, so I got really good finding people. Then I got really good finding people that didn't want to be found. And then I got really good finding people that not only didn't want to be found, but nobody could find. And I did that in the repo business to the point I retired twice, and I was asked by Mercedes-Benz Credit to unretire twice. You know, so bottom line is I got into the repo business. I sold that business around 2000 and just kept investigations. I've done a lot of political investigations. I've got over 25 first-degree murder cases on the defense side, meaning you helped the killer. 2 child killers, which when I did the Michael Hernandez case in 2003, who killed his best friend, I had over 600 hours with him. You know how much he taught me about children that may run away in the streets that don't think like the other kids? I mean, I went to college with Michael.
Kids that run away that don't think like other kids.
Right.
I'm going to tell a story. My son was 9 years old, and one of the few people, if not the only person, that I have on my private, only family and close friends Facebook is you. And I messaged when you found a kid, and I said, my son was 9. Mira, if my son runs away, the minute that you find him, le caigo a chancletazo. And your answer was, I'm not going to find a kid to give it to you for you to abuse.
100%.
So to me, it was like, wait, he can't even take a joke like that. He's serious about this. And that's when I started investigating. My son is 23 right now, by the way.
Yeah.
And that marked me, and I say, wait, this kid might have run away because they were beating him. And that's when I looked at the whole kids running away differently. Why does a kid run away?
All the knowledge that I have today is I've gotten from the kids and from the parents. But let me go back to where I started, if I can. In 2005, I was bodyguarding a politician, and I saw in a Clarín newspaper a young lady had gone missing from the Miami airport on June 15th, and that was my birthday. And we were in September. And it was in the bottom of the section where all my fellow PI, I don't say because whatever PI puts the commercial in there, and anyway, it was surrounded by PI, you know. So I ripped it off, $5,000 reward. And I called my investigative partner, who still to today is, and I said, you know what, we're going to go see this family tonight, and we're going to find that kid. My birthday, and boom, we went to see the family, and 9 days later, we brought her home. It was a very complicated case. She ran away from her dad. She was in the street, and it was very complicated. And we didn't want the money. And once that happened, my new drug hit me. Because
the new high.
The
new high.
Well, and I'll explain why. You talk about when parents come to see you, you know, and then I started in 2005. It was just, you know, I'd see a kid lost, I'd go knock on your door. Nobody knew who I was. And it was between me and you and your kid. Mm-hmm. And then you start learning that, you know, the kids don't, you know, run away to have fun. The kids that run away to have fun will come back the next morning. But when a mom comes to see me 4, 5, 6 days later and the kid's 13, there's a problem. And what I've learned is the problem is usually at home. May not be a serious problem, but it's a problem in the mind of a child. And I can go in later to all those problems that happened. But once we brought that kid home, okay, so I started just one by one. I ended up knocking on some pretty high profile news cases. And then in 2014, I rescued Kayla, you know, and she had run away. And at 15, bad problems at home. And her mom knew somebody at, I think it was Telemundo. Mm-hmm. So I remember being in Colorado where I talked to herself, and she was in jail for 2 weeks there. She didn't like me very much. But her mom started calling somebody, telling her about me, and I ended up on a 4-part series with Telemundo. So I said, oh shit, I got to get me a name.
Yeah.
And that's when I came up bringing them Home Project, and we became just the name.
One child, one life, yep.
Yep, and then we got an internet presence, and then I started getting more media coverage, and then it just snowballed.
Did that help?
Oh, yeah.
When you say, okay, you have a very distinct look.
Yeah.
Like, you're not somebody that you go somewhere and people are not going to look at you because you look like, come on, you look like Santa.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Santa all year long. And
Well, no, 11 months is ZZ Top, and December is...
it's just, you know, like...
But I didn't always have this, but I've always had, yeah.
Since I remember you, it was not that long, but you always had it.
Yeah, I can't
It was
sneak
small. It started candadito, long. Now it's just full on Santa at 12 days.
You can't
So
sneak up.
when a kid runs away, there is a difference between a kid running away and getting to something better. There is a kid being adopted. Okay?
But you don't know how many kids in the last 10 years end up getting abducted that just ran away. So you have
Explain to me
treat-
that, yeah.
Well, I'll explain it to you, and it's the fault of the internet. You see, because when I started finding kids, excuse me, talking about kids, when I started finding kids, the bad guy was out there. The bad guy was out there. Today, the bad guy is in the bedroom with which is the camera, with your child. And you have to monitor this device. Okay. Let me give you a rundown what the kids have taught me. Every child that runs away, at least in their mind, ran away because there's a problem at home. And the biggest problem again is that the mom or the dad, they don't have time, not for the child, but to listen to the kid. Okay? And they go back to that. Then the first thing that happens to punish your child is if you take this away from them. But let me explain to people what this is. Remember, I'm an addict. I've been clean for. I'm addicted to this. You're addicted to this. Everybody's addicted to this. And your child is addicted to this. And while your child is at home talking to their friends in their new addiction every night till they have to go to bed, you take this away, they need that chatter. And you know where they get it? Out that door. And that's where they get into problems. Now, they may run only to their friend's house, and they may sneak into their friend's house, and that may work for a day or two, but they're going to end up on the street. And then some real nice guy's going to come by and buy them a McDonald's, and now she's gone. Or she's going to end up on a website, you know, and she's got right here on the beach, and she's going to start going to parties, and mom and dad are not going to know anything about this. And I'm telling you a story blending in hundreds of cases. And this is our daughters that are going to high school. And it's happening because of this. And the parents don't monitor that. And it's very easy to monitor. There's programs that you can put in your child's phone, no matter how old they are, as long as the phone is in your name, and you can see everything they do. You know, but parents don't do that. And
do you recommend parents doing that? Because to us, it's so normal. And come on, Joe, how old are you?
I'll be 70 in a couple of months.
You're 70. I am 42. I understand that me and you could think like that. But a 20-year-old that was born already with the internet, that is just recently had a kid in 5 years, 6 years, she's not going to have the knowledge that we have.
Those are the kids that are running away. Those are the kids that are running away. Okay? And when I bring a parent in, I have two conditions, and the conditions is, since I'm here to help you and not judge you, you have to tell me the truth about your child. I says, when I get to your child, they're going to tell me the truth.
Yeah.
Okay? And the second thing is, when they come home, they're not in trouble.
Yeah.
Because the biggest thing that keeps kids away from coming back, and we're not even into the kidnap ones yet. Like the JoJo case is a great kidnapping case to talk about, but and how it happens, and so how they prepare. But those kids now become afraid to come home because they're in trouble. So
because la mamá le va a dar los chancletazos that I promised mine.
You see, but I have the mama in front of me, and when I have the mama in front of me, she's dead. When you look in her eyes, she's got no life, and she's pleading with you.
Yeah.
Okay? And then you tell her, okay, but I have two conditions. I says, I promise you I'm going to find your child, but you have to tell me the truth. ¿Qué pasó en la casa? Yo no se lo voy a decir a nadie. Entonces, once I believe the parents, that it's very easy to get that message to the child.
Mm-hmm.
So now, I'm not a big bearded son of a bitch that's going to come grab you and get everybody in trouble. I'm on your side.
Yeah.
And that's morphed into actually coming back and sitting in groups. I can tell you about one that had to do with a child a few years ago that happened to have a girlfriend. She was a female, and it was horrible to after I got her back to sit in a round table and see how they were treating this girl who was asking for help with a rehab, and that's why they run. Now, some of the parents don't keep their agreement, but I can tell you that I probably only had a handful of repeats because you make friends with these
If
kids.
a parent don't take the agreement, let's say that.
No, they all do.
But just, hipotéticamente, hypothetical, you brought the kid, el agüita, papi, please.
I
You
don't
brought the
sign
kid-
anything. There's no paperwork, so there's no.
Okay, but let's say that you brought the kid back.
Right.
Oye, coja, aquí está tu hijo, y tú te
No,
vas.
It's not happens that way because these kids are minors, and I don't ever put one in a car. I did that once, and I got authorization on live TV, but it's set up to where either
Okay,
they come back or the parent.
walk me through the paperwork. Oh my
There's
God,
no
Joe, he's missing.
this
To the steps. He's missing. What do I do? The first thing that a parent should do if their kid, it's gone. Talk about age. Because also age is important. Because a 13 and a 15-year-old, I'm assuming that is treated different than a 5.
No. Well, age doesn't matter to me. Most of them are not adults. I had one a few weeks ago that was in the news that was an adult. But it's somebody that gets a hold of me. It's usually somebody calls. Great. Somebody calls, or through the internet. Says call this guy, so I'll get a call or a message already, a week, 2, So I'll end up on the phone with them if it's the parents. You got to understand, by that time they've talked to all these internet detectives and that's
The whole nine.
that's caused a big problem in the work that I do, and people fight with you and call you out. So I shy away from that. But usually, when I talk to the parent, I get them on the phone. I say, listen, I need to see you. You need to tell me the truth. What I just told you. And they're desperate. They say yes. So then you basically sit down with them, and sometimes it's as easy as
Because you're not a cop, you're an investigator. So if the parent was fighting with the kid, and I kind of feel that
No, they got a
would
police
judge.
report.
Yeah, they got a police report. I feel that the police, in a way, it would judge you, but you're not. You cannot get them in trouble. Yes, yo le dije que se vaya para carajo. Well, ma'am, it was your fault. Like, you're not.
Yeah, but you can't also let a 12-year-old child sleep out in the street where you don't know where they are. You see, because what impresses me when the parent comes to see me is not whether you call the police, but it's the desperation in the parents. Because if you got a 12-year-old kid at 3 a.m, you're not thinking that kid's okay anywhere. But the problem with law enforcement is if you don't have a crime, there is a little glitch. If law enforcement is told that there's either mental illness or suicide, they have to jump. Having said that, sometimes they pretend. But anyway, you have to understand my mindset. In my profession, if I mess up on one case, what do you think is going to happen to me?
Yeah.
I don't have anybody else. You can't fire me. The cops mess up every other day. Oh, we're going to do retraining. I don't have that luxury. I get somebody to get on the internet. If I promise that, if I tell you I'm going to bring your kid home and I don't do it or I quit the case, what are you going to do to me?
Yeah.
And that's the mindset. And then coming from the repo business is you don't get paid unless you find it. That's it. And the trick is just letting the kid know that the kid's not in a trouble and come home.
Have you ever found a kid that's not alive anymore?
I have not found, well, no. I have had a couple cases. One in particular was a couple of years ago with a couple that left Cadillac Ranch 7-8 years ago, and they drove themselves into the bay. I had that case, and that was a very funny case because we were working it real hard, and the cops, in my opinion, were not But once it was determined that they probably had a bad accident, it was not only that the cops got involved, but they got in between what we were doing. And I understand that.
Yeah.
You know, we were getting very close to where they went into a lake, and I've never had this happen, but this undercover cop drive by me and said, hop in, let me show you our equipment. And I'm saying, why is this guy being so nice? It's because they were keeping me in the car. We were getting close. But and that's not necessary because, you know, we were out there trying to find somebody's child. You know? We're not out there. I've never solicited, other than in the beginning when nobody knew me, a case.
Yeah.
Because I've always been accused of, oh, yeah, te metiste en esta, in the Jojo Morales case. You know, me and the cops, why, dude? You know, but.
You know, there's a case that marked, I think, everybody, and it was Jimmy Rice.
I have an interesting story on Jimmy Rice.
I was a kid myself when I knew about Jimmy Rice. And Jimmy Rice marked a before and after for everybody that knew or reads about this case. So if you don't know who Jimmy Rice is, please go ahead and find out. How can you avoid something like that, Joe? Why is the world so fucked up? Are we seeing that the world is fucked up now because we have information about all the fuckery, or is the world always being like this?
Jimmy Rice was walking home from school where he'd done...
At 10 years old.
Well, we're talking probably...
9 years old.
We're talking like 30 years ago it was, or something like that.
Yeah.
And he was walking home in a rural section, and some farm worker, sicko, pedophile, which we have all around us, by the way. They all look very normal. It's not like they look like, you know, anything else. Picked them up and killed them, you know. But that kind of story only scares the public for a little while, because a month later, all the kids were back walking around, and that doesn't solve the problem. To answer your question,
that's just scary for the rest of my life.
I do think that we see a lot more now because of technology. Certainly things were happening before technology. This is this kidnapping kids is not a new thing, you know, in the history of the world. You know, sick people is not. So I think we're seeing more of it, just like Bigfoot. They've always been around. We're just seeing more of them because you have a camera in your hand. I mean, you know, I remember when we used to do investigations. Let me tell you how we used to bring you a picture. I used to take it. I used to hope that when I took the camera stuff out, I didn't ruin it. I used to take it to a place up here.
Coño, Joe,
and a week later, they would give me,
You old.
Now, okay, now you have the ability to do everything. You know.
And a week, it used to take Walgreens to send it to the lab. Now they even do. They did a long time ago, like 20 years ago. They were able to do it there. Now where you are old, you're right.
I used to go to a place called Gamma Color.
Gamma Color, even older.
Well, because I knew the owner and he wasn't going to sell the pictures. Because some of the pictures I took were like, you're going to take them to Walmart.
Yeah. It was crazy. It was crazy.
No.
We see a lot of pedophiles. We see a lot of things happening with this whole Diddy situation. And I've always said that the industry is disgusting and people would sell their heads to wear a hat, would sell their soul to underkids. And there are gatekeepers that would even ask you, as crazy as you might sound, that will ask you for your kids. So, yeah.
Don't go too far. They're all around us here in Miami-Dade County.
Yes.
I'm aware.
But people don't believe me. People think it's because I come from an industry where I am so hypersexual aware of what's going on. And I tell them that this industry that I was in made me realize how crazy it's out there. Not us, out there. Mm-hmm. Explain to people the risk of kids in the internet, being little models, doing little dances, and being so famous so early. Explain the risk of taking kids to castings, is to make them famous, to movies, to TV, to singing, these things that we talk about are happening. Kids are being molested. Kids are being used. Kids shut up just to be famous because being famous is what these parents want. So your kid, just to please you, because a little kid, the only thing that he wants is for you to be proud of them. And if every time that you tell them that you are proud of them because they did something singing wise or they did a good video, they will shut up when they're being molested because they don't want to make you mad.
Well, I think it's a good time to talk about the Menendez case and Roy Rosselló, because that's what happened to him. And I'm going to talk about that from personal knowledge. The personal knowledge came from when I did security for Menudo back in the 80s, and I knew Roy Rosselló.
Talking about Menudo, we all know Menudo.
Everybody has seen in the news, I think, the Menendez case with
the two brothers, para que no saben,
and,
the two, everybody knows Menendez case.
And everywhere I can research in the credible media and with talking to lawyers, is Roy's getting a lot of credit for this new rehearing. And I've seen pictures of Roy at the Menendez's house, and it's a good thing to talk about the danger. Let me tell you what happened to Roy, and I'm telling you the public knowledge and how he fell into ending up at the Menendez house and being raped by Mr. Menendez. Roy,
it's provable. It's already.
No, this is out. This is out in the documentary. Roy and I met on the 22nd of December with his mother and his manager for hours. We discussed it. He asked me to get involved in.
Roy was the Menudo guy.
Roy entered Menudo in 1983. And he was there until 1986.
And we all enjoyed them, and we all saw them, and we all these kids, and the kids were going through hell.
Roy was there when Ricky Martin got there. So the witnesses in this case are very well known. So the story that has come out is that when the Menendez documentary came out, first of all, Roy called me like 20 years ago. And he goes to me, listen, not that he called me, Facebook was new, and we connected, and he was already in Brazil. Roy became a minister in Brazil. He had a big following in his church. Roy's a legitimate guy. So he reached out to me, and he started telling me about Edgardo, who I know personally, who I've been to his house with my family in Caguas, who was the owner of Menudo, who I was friends with. I mean, I solved issues for them other than security. We were very close for a long time. So he tells me that, and to be honest, I'm not sure I believed him. Now you go fast forward, and when we meet the other day, he puts his hand on my shoulder, and he asked me, he goes, why didn't you believe me 20 years ago? And I looked at him and I said, 20 years ago, society wasn't ready for you, but they are now.
Society wasn't ready because they idolize everybody that is famous.
They cover them up. Thank God. And I'm going to say this again. Thank God for a U.S. attorney in the 2nd District of New York who has come down here and arrested human traffickers, and he's not done, because the people down here turn a blind eye. And I'm talking about everybody down here.
Yes, I don't understand. Diddy has a house here. How the hell he's being tried somewhere
and
else?
And where does he want to come back?
To Miami.
Why?
And
why?
I wonder why.
I'm telling you, because he's protected here.
I wonder why.
He's protected here. He's protected here.
This is not, listen, I understand that we come, like especially our generation, even though you being older than I am, but still to my generations, I understand that we are raised with TV and seeing these things in novela and not believing these things. This shit happens. Like this shit is happening every day, and you guys are living in a bubble that don't realize the danger. And no, we are not equal. Famous people are not equal. Famous people los tienen cogido por las bolas. Because in order to get somewhere, you have to do so many things and have to know so much that you don't talk because you are part of it.
And imagine your 17-year-old teenage daughter or son who's beginning to sneak into nightclubs and stuff, running into these people. And they do every day. And the most legitimate, I can name a restaurant right now on South Beach, right now, that everybody knows, that everybody wants to go and be seen there. And when you do a deep dive, not on the owner of the restaurant, because the owners you never know, but the guy on paper, sex trafficking sites all over the world, right here, right here. Now he's may have some issues coming up, but the bottom line is, our elected officials dying there, our law enforcement officials dying there. They take money from these people in contributions, and those people are trafficking children on these private little yachts that go out just far enough here. All these people now are into these yacht parties and stuff. Let me tell you something, what's going on in those yachts. Your daughter is meeting these people. Look at the 3 brothers that were just arrested. Thank God for a federal judge who doesn't think $200 million is enough bond. Let's see how many of those kids end up dead now. Mm-hmm. Read the article, the head of the Miami Herald, January 1st, and see the 16-year-old child that was caught in a hooked-up doctor's closet who's now dead. And then nobody in this town investigated it. And then you start peeling back that. These people that are on TV saying they're protecting your children, a lot of them are involved.
Are involved in it.
Are
involved. The government, I believe, is involved in it. When I'm not talking about local government, I'm talking about para arriba. I'm talking about Casablanca involvement.
No,
Coño,
you can talk about this one.
Están envueltos en el Vaticano, que no están envueltos en la Casa Blanca. Like, what are we talking about? We are full. We live in a world where people are still blind to the reality. People live normal lives. Leave your kid the fuck away from the limelight.
I have a granddaughter that's 17, and she's graduating, going to college. She knows that her car is tracked, and she knows that her phone is tracked. Not because anybody wants to be involved in anything.
Just
but
because
there
you
may
need
be
to know.
a day to know. Listen, she had a friend. Was 14 years old. This happened 2 years ago on January 2nd. Came all over the news. Her friend snuck out. Ended up in a trap house. Partying at night. There was a car accident where the kid next to her got killed. These were all gangbangers. She died. They resuscitated her in the middle of the street. She's 14 years old. The fear was that they were going to come after her. I had to go sit with those gangbangers. But that's what your 14-year... Just sneaking out. You know, hey, Mom, I'm going to go to Alessandra's house. But she goes out with these gangbangers. And they're all nice guys. They all drive BMWs. You can't tell they're gangbangers.
Oh, yeah, because gangbangers are not now... They're not your typical Hollywood tatted guy. It's actually anybody.
No, this town here, where we live in right now...
We got pretty boys. We got gangbangers with freaking models.
The good thing about living in this town, as long as I have, is I can tell the difference real quick.
You can tell the difference.
I'll be real honest with you. 19 years ago, I stopped carrying a gun. When I started doing confrontations with children, and then, in the street, because guns and kids, 2 years now I've been carrying a gun again. Because of what's around us.
People don't get
Imagine your child out there running into somebody like that. It's a very, very dangerous world.
Is Miami becoming a city unbearable to raise your kids?
No. I think a lot of sections of Miami are. I think a lot of sections of Miami, I'm not saying everybody, but it's real difficult to keep a good kid in line. Simply because a lot of the work that I've done is to talk to kids. For example, this thing that I just talked to you about. One of the girls who was in the gang, kind of when I broke her down, said, Mr. Carrillo, we didn't grow up like Sophia did. We didn't have the opportunities she had. So when she came over here, and I remember feeling real bad for her and telling her, listen, I'm not here to get anybody in trouble. I'm not a cop. I'm just here to... I was thanking her. She gave up the gang to where they were and kind of helped in it. But and I understand that. I have a lot of kids that I come get from bad neighborhoods, and that's the reason I don't charge money. I had a lady sit there one time, and and I have tailored my sit down with the parent in a way to give them hope. Which is, you tell them you're going to do all these wonderful things. They're dirt poor.
Yeah.
A lot of them say, I don't have a way to get to your office. And then they tell you, what's this going to cost us?
Yeah.
And then that's the best part. You say, it doesn't cost you anything.
Because you imagine, you live this often, but I don't. I put myself, I feel I have a very blessed life.
Yeah.
Okay? I have struggled like everybody, but
Everybody does.
my defense mechanism makes me forget my struggle all the time, and I only focus on all the happy things. Like, I cannot give you a bad memory. I cannot give you a bad memory or a bad feeling because I'm surrounded by good ones. So the bad ones
All right, don't come to the surface.
don't come to the surface. But that's not the case of everybody, you know? And money is something that stops a lot of people from doing things. Do you imagine the pain that is not going to somebody that is going to find your kid because you don't have the money in order to do it?
Well, I think that stops people because I remember this one lady telling me, I called somebody and that was a PI and he wanted 20 grand.
Yeah.
And I said, would you give me his name?
Yeah.
And she said, no, because I get these son of a bitches every time you make the news. Oh, we want to work with you. You want to work with me? Okay, let's go. But when there's not a camera around and they don't have time. Or a church. Churches are great. And I love all churches and all religions. But I remember I was approached by a huge church one time. They brought me in, brought me dinner, and they said, hey, anytime you need us, we're going to be there, and we're going to run out. And I said, fantastic. I said, great. It was a great church. I met him when we were feeding people after the hurricanes in the Keys through a friend. A fantastic church. Okay? So one day, in 2019, I'm home. I just had retinal
Surgery?
my eye was this big, and I get a phone call of this older man that's lost. So I said, great, I'm going to call this fucking church. I'm going to have me 200 people.
Look
No, listen, the guy got lost in that old place up there. What's it called? The big community in Broward. Old place, I could live there, But anyway, so I knew he had to be in the fence.
Yeah.
So I said, man, I'll give you 200 of these church people gathered. We'll find the old man. Well, I called the church. They needed a month to get the volunteers together. I said, I can't wait a month to go find this guy. But understand that when people call you, if you get a call that a kid is missing and the kid is 12, you need to go right away.
And they're still using God. Yeah, let me tell you something, man.
I don't.
God, I'm sorry for all of us, God. That's all I can say. I have a question for you. Coming from the adult industry,
Right.
I've always been blamed for all this intimate and sexual things that people want to do. Is it our fault?
I don't know a lot. I mean, are you talking about the adult industry?
Mine.
Film.
Mine, like this one that we do.
No, right.
The awards, the ones that I'm in.
But educate me because
I'm talking about being a porn star. I'm always blamed of facilitating
I think that
kids and women being.
I think that's a very regulated business.
It is, but the society blames us.
I had one case that dealt with porn, very interesting, and it was not the girl's fault that she fell into the porn business. It was the mother who threw her out of the house, and she had a drug problem. And when I approached the porn business, they were extremely professional with me. And actually helped me solve the problem with the girl. So to me, that's the porn business.
Yeah.
This was a very wealthy girl who mom said she had to be home at midnight, threw her out to the street, very fancy from the beach. As a matter of fact, the third time I brought her back, I threw her dad out of the fucking house and left the girl there, physically. Okay? And she fell into the porn, the film. But I found the people to be very decent. Now, you go to the clubs, and you deal with those people when you're looking for somebody.
But something is the industry. Yeah.
That to me,
it's crazy.
I think
when you say the club, you said about the strip clubs.
All the strip clubs here
that's a mess.
are run by one organization, and they have everybody corrupted, and they have all the human trafficking, and they have everybody paid off.
So why, if we know that human traffickers are not, and everything that is happening with human trafficking that has been happening in the world for years and years and years, why do you think government always puts it in this industry? Because it's the obvious thing, because they are involved. Like, what is it? Because I'm trying to explain to people it's not us.
When you're dealing, no, it's not you. At all, it's not. I just explained it. But human trafficking is bigger than drugs. And drug has corrupted every government in the world. And so has human trafficking. And it is the new drugs. And we have a big problem with it here. We have a lot of people here that protect it, and That's changing, and I give an example. The beach has changed.
The beach has changed
The Miami
so
Beach,
much.
the Miami Beach Police Department with the new police chief has changed on how human trafficking is investigated over there. Well, where did Diddy live? Okay, where's he now?
There is
Okay?
a huge restaurant on Miami Beach that I went
What
in.
is the name? I'll tell you if it's the one I was talking about or not.
Queen.
Huh?
Queen.
I don't know that one.
I
Queen?
went to Queen.
No.
I'm gonna do my experience with Queen. It's huge. It's huge, and I felt such a weird vibe. I love the place. It's amazing before 11 p.m. After 11 p.m., all this.
It changes. It changes.
Oh my God. I got the fuck out of there quick as hell because everybody was coming with their wives and a younger version of their wife that was not their daughter. And then it was just a weird vibe. And once again, I come from an industry where I talk online with a lot of people and I hear a lot of fantasies and I know a lot about the world, not because I've experienced it. I believe the whole Diddy thing because I know that that's how it works. Because I've said no to a lot of things.
That's the way some of the people that were calling crazy in California said it worked 20, 30 years ago. You know? I have a project that they've written on me, and I've been in California with California people negotiating for 7 years. And nothing happened. And now there's interest. And it's what I told Roy. Now the world is ready for this. You had Epstein. That's real.
That's real.
People are never going to get in trouble. None of this ain't never going to come out.
So crazy.
Oh, that's okay.
It's so
because
crazy.
you get to a certain level anywhere in society where you're untouchable. It happens here, it happens in Washington, it happens in New York. You may get so high they need to kill you or suicide you. Okay, don't ever believe a suicide in prison. Michael Hernandez, who I represented as a child killer, died at 31 of a heart attack. Michael never had a damn problem with a heart attack. The problem is he embarrassed everybody 25 years ago. And it happens time and time and time and time again. Okay. Did he? I don't know. I don't want to know anything about that. I deal with the small. I've never had anybody. I've had people land with traffickers, and I have negotiated with traffickers.
I think that this whole thing is bigger than drugs. This whole thing is very bigger than drugs. Sex is bigger than drugs. And the people that are in control and untouchable are way bigger than couples. I have two more questions for you. Question number one. What is to sit down and find and sit down and get into the head of El Violador de Charandoa? That, to me, it's one of your biggest achievements, even though you have so many. But the fact that you're the guy that found him after the police couldn't,
What's
to
funny
me,
is
it's just like that. I met you as Joe, the guy that found El Violador de Charandoa.
Exactly, that was the case. Well, the trick to finding anybody is to look. In my
Joe, the trick to find anybody is to look. We have fucking cops, we have FBI, we have CIA, we have special force. Like, how come these people that are paid by me can't?
You tell me how this happened, because 23 years later, I can't fucking figure it out.
Joe!
I decide I'm going to go find this motherfucker because nobody can find him in the task force. I can get the cuss on your show. I haven't cussed all the fucking show. So I'm sitting at home and I just got separated. And I tell everybody, I told Willie Chirino, I told his secretary, I told the people where I had breakfast every day that I was going to find them. And the day I found them, I said, today's the day. So I go out into this big fucking world, and the first son of a bitch that I talked to out here, who's a fucking mechanic for a client of mine, is the one that told me. The first motherfucker. So ask yourself, how is it that you went out and
Your force.
and did this when everybody else has been out for 18 months asking questions? So you don't realize it then. You realize it years later, because when that happens time and time and time and time again, where you're just a little thing that just puts everything together, then you begin to realize where it comes from. But what happened was is
Nobody found it because somebody looked.
I mean, no, you gotta fucking look, and you can't be busy coming out in the news. I'll never forget. They put a big fucking billboard up, And they did a press conference. We're disbanding the federal task force and we need the public's help. And I'm thinking, well, I'm public. I swear to God, I'm sitting at home going, well, I'm a member of the public. I have some talents. Let me go find this motherfucker. And I go over. I'll tell you where I went, American Auto Rental. And I went to speak to my buddy in the back. And I go, I'm looking for this guy. And he goes, hey, my wife saw this and this and that. And she's scared because we're illegal here. And I said, okay. But I'll tell you, I'll get it out of her on Thursday. And that's the way it was. And the way I did is God put me in that spot. I didn't know that at the time. To just, and then I suffered.
Yeah.
Because I've never done something good and have received the reward from anything here.
Mm-hmm.
On the contrary, I've been called a liar. I've been called crazy on that case. I had to sue for a fucking certificate. I just wanted a certificate to show my fucking grandkids, man. Which I fucking have.
Yeah.
You know?
Which
Fuck
I've seen.
you.
I've seen it. I saw it.
Yeah. Oh, you ought to see the release I had to sign. I couldn't put in my office. I couldn't tell the press. I go, motherfuckers, look at you guys. You guys are crying like little fucking babies. I was telling them to their face. And all I did was help.
Yeah.
Same with the kids.
Yeah.
You know? Let me tell you, I've had a mother tell me, you know what the fucking detective told me today? That there was 1,200 cases in front of my child. I said, was that Robert Palmer? He said, exactly.
That's
Fuck
crazy.
him. Now, you're a mother and your kid gets lost and you can't sleep at night and you know your kid's a rebellious kid and a detective tells you that?
You go
and
crazy.
now comes this motherfucker.
You go
and
crazy.
the next day, that detective who already hates me says, hey, my kid came home. Oh, yeah, no, Carrillo found him. Oh, fuck. So, again, you do something good. And I'm the bad guy.
What is...
It's funny.
Have you ever gotten into... I think that the Netflix series has to be done, El Violador de Charando. I'm so stuck on that because
He wrote me a letter. I received
He didn't have a type. He raped anything and anybody.
Let me tell you.
What was his deal?
Let me tell you what he told me. And this has never come out. He says, there's 23 accidents that I caused that nobody... He says, tú me estás hablando conmigo. I told you I'm in the right place. You know, my head is straight. You caught me. I'm not going to stab you. God knows what he did. Today, he's still using those words to me when he writes me. I've got 5 or 6 letters. But he said, I used to take Molly's. They were called something else back then. And he said that when he drank those things and drank, he became a monster. That was his gig. Eso me lo dijo él a mí. Eso me lo dijo él a mí in a 3.5 hour meeting.
A viejita, bro. A kid, man.
Let me tell you, the guy's that big. He had a son who passed away. His son is 22 now. Every time he's written me, he's never been upset at me, except because I've approached him a couple of times and I let him go, you know. And he wrote me, and it's like he's never changed his story.
He's thankful you did something for him that he couldn't control himself doing.
He almost said that, not thankful that I did it. But he said, the way he said it was, God intervened and put me here. Because if he would not have done that. Now, a guy that's saying that 23 years ago, and I've got a letter from him 3 years after he got arrested, you know, his words are genuine. So I ran into his lawyer the other day, who helped me very much in my lawsuit. Mm-hmm. And I think we're going to write a book with the son of a bitch. Because we need the truth to come out, because the public has not been told the truth about the Shenandoah rapists. And I'm not talking about the capture. Because I'm not sure that all those 7 rapes were rapes. The problem is, when he escaped, remember he escaped?
Yeah.
When they got him back before his trial, they told him, after they convicted him on the first one, they said, if you plead guilty to the other 6 cases, we won't arrest anybody that helped you. And there was like 6 or 7 people that were from a church that helped him. I remember I was involved very closely with the state attorney on the hunt after he escaped, and I missed him by 100 yards. Papa Dios.
Is he going to talk about this?
Yes.
Oh my God.
No, he wants to get his story out. I've approached him about it.
It's not done yet then.
No.
No. And the only reason, guys, I live in Shenandoah. And it's a big deal for me.
He was terrorizing
This is
Shenandoah.
This is a quiet neighborhood.
No, he was raping people. For people don't know, he raped an 11-year-old girl up to a 77-year-old woman. But what has not come out is that the cops had him in jail a month before.
And didn't?
And didn't believe him. And if you go now, that file has disappeared.
That's crazy. I'm bananas.
So the Shenandoah rapist was charged with touching the breast of an 11 or 10-year-old girl. I spoke to that family. And the girl didn't go to court. And the reason she didn't go to court is because they didn't have her apartment number to serve her. And you know how many apartments were in her building? 4. So that case dropped, and a month later, he started raping people. They had him on a simple domestic battery or simple sexual on a child that they could have convicted him and deported him, and nobody would have been raped.
Do you think the laws still hasn't caught up to sexual acts from men to women?
No, I don't think there's an issue there. I don't study that too much. I think they're both getting assaulted. I think when we see the Diddy thing, it's not going to make a difference between a man and a woman.
I forgot about Diddy.
And
you're right.
you know, and
Yo,
there's
Diddy,
a lot more.
You know,
like
people
it.
don't believe the Diddy thing the same way that they don't believe the Epstein, the same way that they don't believe that all these presidents and all this.
I will tell you this
people.
much. I will tell you this much. Today I had a 20-minute conversation with the 2 lawyers who brought down Epstein. I won't say his name because he's not. And the conversation was about setting up a meeting for Roy Rosselló. And if you read the files that this guy just has on the internet, these are the 2 lawyers that got $270-something million settlement. They're right here in Lauderdale. And I called them. You'll never know what happened with. You never know what happened with Diddy either.
Señora,
And you'll never know.
We live in a bubble, man. We live in a bubble, man. Keep your kids at home. Make sure that you create a safe environment where you are the fun, where you and your family, and even with your family, always keep an eye. I have never experienced anything like this in my family personally, but I have heard and I have met people that have experienced a lot of crazy things with their own family. So kids are not safe. So if you're a mom, if you're a neighbor, and you see something weird, make sure you keep an eye on that kid. Kids are not even safe with the family. Like, we live in a crazy world. Keep your kids close to you and stop exposing them. This is the 3rd show that I do this year about saving your kids. Get your kids off the internet. Start having family dinners. Start having movie nights. Start having game nights. I know we work very hard, but we have time for fucking TikToks. You have an hour a day for your kids, and that will make a difference in your kid's life. I have a 23-year-old son that just recently got married, and he still calls me to tell me that he's going to work. I'm back home, and he has a wife.
That's the way we run the things too. You can check up on everybody. Never never let your kids talk to anybody they've never met in person.
Yes.
That's the one advice. That's what you tell the kids. If you haven't met this person, you don't need to be talking to them. Let me tell you something that happened to me years ago, and it's a reverse example, but it shows you how you don't know on the internet. When AOL was brand new, I get a message from some girl, hi. I said, hi. Forget what she said, and I said, how old are you? She said, 14.
Bye.
She said, don't ever call anybody else. Now, I guarantee you she wasn't 14. I guarantee you that's some 68-year-old cop trying to bag you.
Yeah.
The point is, in reverse, you've got them bad guy still reaching out.
Yeah.
I had a couple of cases like that with an attorney who somebody cloned their kid's Facebook. And this is an attorney whose daughter was doing movies in Hollywood. Very close friend of mine till today. He called me up. I go, bro, I got another page that's cloned, and they're doing messages to all her friends, and some of her friends are.
I have a
so
million
I said,
pages.
find out. It took me like 10 minutes. There was an unregistered female sexual predator from some little town in North Florida that had cloned this page on Facebook and was already talking to the other friends.
Can we tell people where can they find because sex offenders needs to be registered, by the way. And when you check your neighborhood, you have 20 in one block.
FDLE, Florida Department of Law Enforcement, FDLE. They have
FDLE.
right, and there they have a sexual predator page. You can put your address, and you can go out as far as you want, hit a button, and it'll tell you where everybody lives. Those are the registered ones.
The ones that
But
are
we
not
have
registered.
a huge, and you're going to see some that are not registered that have absconded. Listen, they're all around us. Parks. Do not let your kid go to a park alone, especially parks that have forest. And I can name a bunch of them. Do not go to a Walmart bathroom or a Home Depot. None of that. I'm sorry. That was important.
No, that's super important. When can you let your kids go somewhere? At what age?
That's a difficult question, and I'll answer it this way.
I didn't let mine go out.
If you don't let them, if you don't let their boundaries expand little by little, you're going to get to a point where you're going to have to call me. So it's a tough. No, listen, all kids want to, do a little more, do a little more. When you put that stop on them in something, they're going to go. So it's a tough balance.
And something else, I'm 42 years old, and since I got into the adult movie industry, I've always wanted to raise the age to 21. I don't think no kid at 18-year-old should have the opportunity to even think or want or get involved in something that would change your life, such as going into the adult industry. And I have not been able to sit down with anybody that listens to me, because for some reason it's crazy that a porn star wants to raise the age of legality.
I imagine for the people that watch porn, there's a certain element that likes the younger and younger.
Disgusting, because that 18 disgusting.
And that goes then to the illegal porn. But I think it's why would they agree with you if they're going to sell more? Because if you raise it up to 21, now you've got
but yet on social media, little girls
social media is
could be on bikinis.
Social media is going to destroy the world.
It's already half.
Forget about AI. Social media has caused friends to fight with each other, has caused probably countries to topple. I mean, smaller countries. It's going to forget about AI. It's already doing it. In social media, people can destroy you, can do whatever, and you're defenseless.
Yeah.
And you're defenseless.
It's very crazy, because when you are 18 and you do a movie at 18, nobody does a movie in 3 days after you turn 18. You had to go to that casting when you were 17, and a bunch of people saw you naked at 17. It's very crazy. So if there is any lobbyist, if there is any still serious government official that would like to sit down with me so I could give them my 2 cents that I've been trying to do for 16 years in this industry, I would like to take this opportunity, because I'm pretty sure a lot of them are going to watch this situation that we just did.
When you're next to me, now none of them are really going to talk to you.
But they might want to do something good on their way out.
I think they're going to get shaken up here in the next few months. And I'm not talking politically. I'm talking there's going to be a shakeup. Or some of them may want to come and talk to you then. But right now.
So let's hope. Maybe
they'll talk to both of us.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Right.
I have a lot of insight of a lot of things, of how things work, that I would like for them to change in order to have our kids safe. Thank you very much. No. Thank you very much for being here.
My pleasure. We were going to do it a while ago, and it didn't
work.
You called me yesterday. I go, let's go.
Let's do it, because then we get complicated.
We have a lot of good stuff happening this year.
Yes.
So we might as well have done this show early in the year.
Yes.
We'll do some more when things start to happen.
Many good things will happen.
Oh, yeah.
2025.
Good things happen to good people.
Yep.
Bad things happen to bad people.
And that's how it is. And we're going to leave it right there. So thank you very much. If you have any comments and if you need any help, please make sure you contact Joe. We are going to leave his information at the beginning of the show. But we're also going to do it at the end. So thank you very much, Joe, for being here, and you guys for watching. Bye-bye.